Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. My name is Caitlin, and today I am joined by...
Jake.
Chris.
And Ames.
And we are here to talk about possibly the best film... I would say probably the best film in at least the original Star Trek run, if not the entire Star Trek run of films.
Disagree, but go on.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like a close... It's like 4 and 2 are in like a constant battle against each other for which one is best. And Wales usually wins. But... arguably, like, from a fan perspective and, like, an IMDb rating perspective, I think Wrath of Khan is, like, probably number 1. We're here to talk about Wrath of Khan. And for those of you maybe who have not seen Wrath of Khan or have forgotten what the Wrath of Khan is about...
tell us, Caitlin.
I'll tell you, Ames.
What number episode are we on?
51.
Whoa!
Are we at 51?
Yeah.
Hot diggity dog. So, in the Wrath of Khan, it seems to, like, start weirdly not right after the motion picture. Like, it feels like we've totally changed,
I think they ignored that the motion picture happened for this movie.
We could probably talk about that. So anyway, Wrath of Khan opens. Spock is the captain of the Enterprise, right? And Kirk is an admiral, and he's a desk jockey, and he fucking hates it. Who saw that coming? They're doing the trainee thing. We see the Kobayashi Maru. It's great. We meet Saavik, played by Kirstie Alley. So... Chekhov is on another ship right now, the Reliant, and he and Captain Terrell of the Reliant go down to SETI Alpha 5 because they're checking it out to see if there are life forms. The reason why they're checking to see if there are life forms on SETI Alpha 5 is because it's supposed to be a dead planet, and there are some scientists who want to test out the Genesis torpedo. What the fuck is it called? I mean, the thing about this Genesis thing is what it can do is it takes a dead planet, it makes it a living planet. It's really awesome. And they want to test it out. They've already tested it like in the lab, and they've tested it underground, and it seems to be working, so it's time to try it for realsies. However, when they get to SETI Alpha, well, actually, they think it's SETI Alpha 6. Excuse me, listeners. They think it's SETI Alpha 6, so they get there, and they're like, oh, SETI Alpha 5. This is SETI Alpha 6. It's nice and dead, but, there's some wreckage here. And what is the wreckage? The wreckage is the fucking SS Botany Bay.
Whoops.
Chekhov shits a brick, an actual brick, and is like, we gotta get the fuck out! And Captain Terrell's like, what's the big fucking deal? And they get outside, and the big fucking deal is that Khan Noonien Singh and like 20 of his buddies are chilling out on what they thought was SETI Alpha 6, but it was in fact SETI Alpha 5! And so Khan is more pissed than ever at Kirk because he's like, that motherfucker never came and checked in on us, and SETI Alpha 6 blew up or something and knocked this planet out of its orbit, and the conditions are really fucking harsh, and my wife died, and did I mention that I'm cuckoo and I want to kill Kirk? So the way that he's going to get to Kirk is they hijack the Reliant, and then they go and they steal the Genesis. What is it actually called? It's not
device.
Device, okay. Well, that's kind of lackluster.
But it is a torpedo, let's be honest.
Yeah, it is sort of a torpedo.
I think we'll get to it, but I think in Star Trek 3 they actually refer to it as the Genesis torpedo.
Do they really? Stop, are you lying?
I think they might.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. So anyway, they find out about Genesis, and they're like, well, let's go steal fucking Genesis and fuck Kirk's day up, because the only thing I care about is revenge.
Well, and the other thing, actually, they left out about Genesis is that if you use it on a planet that already has life, the life there will be wiped out in favor of, as Spock puts it, its new Matrix.
It's a hard restart.
Yeah. It's new Matrix.
Yeah, because it works
you green-blooded son of a bitch!
It works by rearranging matter at the subatomic level to convert whatever it encounters into whatever you've programmed it to turn it into.
Guys, do we really need to get into this right now?
Well, that's why it's important. I mean, it's important. That's why Khan wants it. He would use it as a weapon, not to just make himself a new home.
I'd have used my Genesis torpedo for good.
So I feel like the Genesis is really just like replicator technology on a planetary scale.
You're not wrong.
Nah,
You're not wrong.
We're so close. Actually, we're like halfway through the movie right now.
That's true. So, well, I mean, that really is the whole movie, because the rest of the movie is just Khan being made to look like a bitch by Kirk and over again.
Playing hide and seek in a cloud.
But, like, what the fuck with the superior intellect? And he just keeps... I mean, I know that, God, in Red Dragon... Yeah, no, don't give me that face. It's relevant. There's this scene between Hannibal Lecter and... What's his name? Will Graham? Is that the name of the character? I think it's Will
Grant?
Will Graham. Grant?
Is it Graham or Grant?
It's Ed Norton. All I know is Ed Norton plays him. I think it's Will Graham.
Yeah,
anyway, stick with me. Just stick with me, okay? Will Graham is like, well, I caught you because I had, an edge. And, Hannibal Lecter is like, how were you able to best me? And, Will Graham is like, well, you're insane. So, and that's basically what Kirk's got going for him. The other thing is, though, is that Genesis is being worked on by Kirk's baby mama, Edith.
Carol.
Edith?
Dr. Carol Marcus.
Edith Keeler?
Nope. She's
and,
dead.
Okay, so, great. So, and he's got this kid who's also with Carol, Edith Keeler, Marcus, and
he's an adult. He's not like a kid.
No, he's like an adult, and he doesn't know that Kirk's his daddy, so we get a little extra bullshit thrown in. At any rate, they trick Khan with a bunch of bullshit. Khan winds up, setting his ship to self-destruct, and they're gonna get caught in the blast because their shit is all malfunctioned because they got shot a couple times.
Well, he sets the Genesis device to blow.
Right, so he turns on the Genesis device, which is going to convert the matter in the nebula into the Genesis matrix.
Oh, shit.
So essentially, if
Did we even watch the same movie? I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I did miss that point. At any rate, they're like, fuck, our ship is fucked and we're gonna die. And, we need to get in and do some jiggery-pokery with some science, but there's a shitload of radiation. And Scotty's like, I can't do it. Oh, we're just gonna die. And Spock is like, well, time to be the fucking biggest badass in this movie. He neck pinches Doc, jumps into Radiation Central, and does the jiggery-pokery so that the warp drive is back online or whatever. And... God, I wish I'd been drinking. This is just where I'm at today. We get a very serious call for Kirk to come to engineering while they're in the middle of yay, we're not gonna die, this is the best ever. And the tone of voice is very oh shit, and you can see from Kirk's face that he knows that something ain't right. So he runs down, and then he has that really beautiful and heartbreaking moment where he and Spock have a moment, across glass, and, Spock's like, the need of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, and, I have been and always shall be your friend, and...
out of danger.
His voice is so gravelly and weird in that scene. I mean, it makes sense.
He's been huffing radiation.
No, totally. I'm appreciating it. It's like a whole other level of acting.
The part of that is when he's trying to walk towards Kirk and he just bangs into the glass.
It's certainly a scene I would want hanging from my Christmas tree.
Thank God for Hallmark. Anyway, Spock dies. And
whoops, lol.
And
Spock dies forever in a very meaningful gesture.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
And he gets shot down into the planet where the Genesis device is also...
They put him in a torpedo.
Yeah, they torpedoed him. The Genesis torpedo. He's dead, and that's it. It's too bad we'll never see Spock again, guys.
Yep. Well, he made it out. Made it out of the movies.
But what a way to kill off a main character.
It's so beautiful.
In a meaningful way.
Yeah.
There's been other times in Star Trek, which we'll get to, where main characters have been killed off in what I would consider stupid ways.
Yeah. Now,
I was crying. I do cry. That scene really does, tear me open. And it's... Anyway, sorry. We'll get to it later.
I've now seen it enough times that I'm slightly numb to it.
Listen to this guy.
Don't get me wrong, the first time I saw it, I was a child and it fucking destroyed me. And even then, for years afterwards, it would still choke me up a little. Now I can just kind of watch and be like, I'm okay.
Well, and this is the thing. Not to, jump to the end at the beginning, as I often do, and not to make a point I've made before, which I'm going to also do, but, imagine... Red Dragon. In Red Dragon, Will Graham... no. But, what I was saying last night, and again, I know I've said this before, but, imagine being in the audience in 1982, and Spock is fucking dead, and there's no IMDb, so you can't see that, in 1984, there's an unnamed Star Trek, project, and Leonard Nimoy is signed up. There's none of that. There's no internet. There's no whatever. It's just yup, Star Trek just killed your fucking favorite character and the best actor on the show. What do you think about that?
Second best actor. We're not giving DeForest enough credit.
Love him.
And actually, I was saying to Chris, I think that James Doohan deserves an award for this film, especially because the scenes with his nephew, he was beautiful.
But you watched the director's cut. You must watch the director's cut.
We did.
Because in the theatrical version, the one we watched, they don't reveal that it's his nephew.
Yeah, so Scotty's just really bummed.
It's kind of odd. It's
it's wow,
Scotty's he never took the Kobayashi Maru. He's never dealt with death. Just one dude on his team dies, and he's like, so upset about
And
it.
also, people die in engineering all the fucking time. Engineering's always getting shot up. Scotty's always the one who, like, barely makes it out, you feel like. That's where all the fucking red shirts live. I mean, he has to know.
But if you're listening and you're confused, in the director's cut, it is specified that the crewman who dies...
Preston, I think.
Is Scotty's nephew.
Yes.
Yep, his sister's youngest.
Yeah.
Preston's another good white boy name for Kirk's actual kid.
Oh, that was his last name.
What's his name? David?
David Marcus. Well, speaking of Spock's death, as we're jumping to the end, as we tend to do, this cat is being a jackass, so apologies for that.
Yeah, get out of here.
Spock, or Nimoy, because he's always got his panties in a twist, didn't want to do the movie, was like, give me a good reason to do this movie, and producer Harv Bennett comes up to him and says, how about we kill you in a blaze of glory? And Nimoy says, I'm listening. Okay. Maybe that's how we do it.
Ames, you made I'm not sure if you've seen this before because you looked a little confused when I mentioned it. Hallmark a few years ago actually made like a commemorative Christmas tree ornament of Spock's death scene.
Okay.
It is Kirk and Spock.
Why don't we have that?
Because who the hell wants that on their Christmas tree?
I do. I would totally have it.
I have a bunch of
existed.
Star Trek. Well, my parents have a bunch of Star Trek.
And I want one of Spock nerve pinching McCoy out, and I want one of.
Oh, he lowered him to the ground so tenderly. I'm sorry,
they
Doctor.
Love each
whatever
other.
the
They
fuck.
love each other so
Remember.
fucking much. That bit, the remember stuff, added after the first screening of the movie. The director. Nicholas Meyer did not want them to put that shit in there. They just wanted Spock to die and have that be the end.
Because the studio was like, well, we got to bring him back, right? How do we bring him back?
Yeah,
like something to make him make
audiences
him
were bummed. Like the test audiences were just kind of like taken aback. Like, wow, Spock died. We don't know how we feel at the end of the movie now. So I guess Bennett and whoever else added in the torpedo with Spock in it going to the surface. They added in the remember scene, and they added in Nimoy giving the end monologue spiel, so that it could end with this kind of hope moment of hope that everything's going forward in time and in the future will be bright after all, and also maybe Spock could live again in some shape or form.
And hope that, holy shit, that we can get Nimoy back after fucking lying blatantly to him about
the only way they got him back is, okay, well, you can direct it, fine.
Plus, they probably paid him out the ass. I mean, at some point, I feel like everyone has a price, and I feel like when you've been playing Spock for that long and you're basically that's what you're known for, you probably have a price.
But anyway, let's go back to the beginning of the film, more or less, because I want to talk about the Enterprise. So here is why I agree that they basically ignore the motion picture.
Tell me.
So in the motion picture, the Enterprise has just undergone a massive refit. Just like completely rebuilt the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, we saw the half an hour of them doing that.
Yeah.
Or except for the warp drive, which never fucking worked apparently.
Right. Well, you just go into a wormhole and hit a potato. Anyway, Starfleet has spent all of this time, money, energy, whatever, resources making the Enterprise a really nice ship again. And then in the very next movie, the Enterprise is a training dinghy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, we just put the newbies on here and take them, just so they can have a little training mission.
Into the paddling pool of space.
Yeah.
The bunny slopes of space.
It doesn't make any sense that Starfleet would do that. They've just upgraded the ship, so let's make it into a ship that we don't really put in the field anymore. We just use it for training purposes.
But then why did they call this Star Trek 2?
Well,
why didn't they just leave the other one as the motion picture and just call this one Star Trek?
The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think they wanted to keep continuity probably for marketing purposes, but it certainly does not pay, other than the fact that it reuses footage from the motion picture of the exterior of the ship.
And the waving guy.
And the waving guy shows up again. Other than that, there's obviously the uniforms are completely different.
Thank
God.
Christ.
The fact that at the end of the motion picture, remember that McCoy in motion picture was retired and was recalled to duty on an emergency basis at Kirk's request.
And he was really mad at Kirk about it as well.
And Star Trek 2, he's just happy to be on the crew, getting to play dead on the simulator.
He did a great job playing
He
dead.
did do a great job.
Yeah, he had a good death.
Tell him about his performance. He did fucking great.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically a reset button.
Yeah.
That they pressed.
I mean, the other reset button was they fucking kicked Gene Roddenberry out of the writing room.
Oh,
they
yeah.
kicked him out of, like, everything.
You notice that, like, he was credited as, like...
Executive consultant.
Executive
I
consultant.
can see
And
it
they-
on the poster behind your head.
Yeah.
Like, I
They're
was
like, hey,
just
hey
looking
Gene,
at it.
this is the Enterprise, right? Yep.
Okay, great. Executive
All right,
consultant.
you
See you later.
consulted him.
They ignored, like, all his advice and
Good.
suggestions because it was driving everybody fucking crazy. So they just ignored him after a while. And I guess when he heard that Spock was going to die in this script, he got pissed because you can't fucking kill Spock. And he leaked it so that the audience, that the fan base would fucking revolt. And they got tons and tons of letters like, you can't kill Spock, you can't do this. So, like, Meyer and Bennett were freaked out.
Thank God they ignored it. Can you imagine if they hadn't?
Yeah, that's why they put in the fake out death in the fake Enterprise that Savick was controlling.
Yeah,
So that people would be kind of placated saying, oh, maybe that's what they meant. Maybe we can go through the movie not worried that Spock will die. Oh, wait, now we're crying.
See, okay, that's good to know, because
actually.
I always kind of wondered. I didn't know Roddenberry had intentionally leaked it, but
That's
I kind
the
of
assumption, because no one else could have. 'Cause,
Right.
like, how many people knew about Spock dying?
yeah, maybe Nicholas Meyer just got really drunk one day. I was like, I'm gonna kill Spock, loud as he could in a bar.
That was as loud as you could. Jesus.
Yeah, sorry.
Years.
But I always kind of wondered if the reason they put that in was so that if it did leak somehow, people could go, oh, okay, I see.
Aren't you supposed to be dead?
Yeah.
The other thing about this film that makes me think that it is a reboot, so to speak, of the movie franchise is that really when you boil this movie down to what it's about, it's really kind of about some of the same things that Motion Picture was about, and that is Kirk's midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Kirk,
You know, I
yeah,
think
it
they embrace it way better in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens on his birthday, and he's feeling old as fuck, and he has to wear glasses now.
Because he's allergic to
Retina.
Yeah, he
Retinax.
can't get LASIK, so he has to wear glasses.
And
That's a
luckily,
nice detail.
And like McCoy gets him like actual antique glasses because
It's really difficult to get them with the lenses intact or whatever.
even more difficult to get them with the lenses intact and your prescription.
I want
like,
gifts
are there
from
no
McCoy.
like optometrists? Like nobody can grind glass in the future anymore.
Yeah, you would think they could just replicate. I mean,
Yeah.
you would think you could just do it especially because if it's an allergy, he can't be the only person in the entire universe who's allergic to Retinax.
I mean, I'm sure they do make glasses, but what he just means is to find an antique pair is probably difficult. Because
I know how you
with
love
Kirk's
antiques because
Yeah.
they love antiques.
He
Because
does.
Spock comments on that when he gives him the what does he give him? He gives him the Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah, Tale of Two Cities.
Probably a copy from
Which-
like
He
1996.
tore through that because by the end of the movie, he's almost finished.
That's what I said.
He was like, "When did he have time to
big.
read?"
I said the same thing. Yeah.
And it's funny because I haven't seen this movie I don't know how many times, and this is the first time I noticed that he's at the end of the book. It's like, when did you do this?
He was looking for the pictures.
Now, could someone explain to me the significance of the line that he reads at the end, where he says, "It's a far, far better thing I do than I have ever done," and then Carol Marcus was like, "What is that, a poem?" And he's like, "Oh no, it's just something Spock was trying to tell me on my birthday." And I didn't really get like what the significance of that line.
Is it from the book?
Yeah,
I think it is.
I haven't
It's
read
the
the
end
book.
of Tales.
I listened to the audiobook.
It counts.
And spoilers for A Tale of Two Cities, I guess.
I don't think we need it.
Basically, there's this guy who's a bit of a layabout and kind of, I don't know, people don't really like him for reasons I can't remember. But he's like super in love with like the main woman. But she is super in love with this other guy who she eventually marries, and he's like some kind of French aristocrat. But these two guys happen to look a lot alike. So at the end, when the like revolution comes for that guy, the sort of the layabout is like, no, I'll disguise myself as him and they'll take me in my place. And that's what he's saying on the way to the guillotine.
Oh, so he basically sacrificed himself so that the woman he loved could love the man that she loved.
Yeah.
Which is still sort of only the good of the one.
Yeah.
And the woman is the Enterprise, and I don't need.
And she's got 500 crew inside of her?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, if
I'd
you
watch
think of all of us, you know, we're all covered in all sorts of weird little
no, I don't
bacteria
want to.
that we have a symbiotic
No,
relationship
no,
with. We all have a crew. inside us.
That's true.
Gross.
Nice.
Gut
Gross and
bacteria,
beautiful.
skin bacteria.
I'm just imagining her as like one of those big colony tribbles. She's just getting bigger and bigger.
Those bacteria that only that only live inside you so that when you're dead they eat you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's interesting. I didn't know that. So yeah, so it's Kirk's birthday. He's dealing with this idea that, he really, both McCoy and Spock kind of say to him, like, really, you should be a captain. Like, McCoy goes as far as to be like, you should get your command back because
You're rotting behind a desk.
You're not doing good here. That's my prescription as your doctor and your friend.
As your lawyer, I recommend.
Which, it never occurred to me till right now, but, like, how weird would it be if your personal physician was also a friend of yours?
Yeah.
I don't
look
want
at
to
your
be...
dick a lot.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, I don't want my good friend to see my
I don't want
genitals.
my close friend to know what I look like in the nude. I don't want them to have had their finger up my ass.
How many STDs I have?
Yeah.
In Kirk's, not me personally, but Kirk.
I wouldn't want to be close friends with my personal physician. That would be bizarre.
I mean, this is the future, though. So, being tested by your future physician, he waves his whoop-whoop machine over you and says you're fine.
That's true. You probably don't have to
Does
turn
the
your head and
wood
cough
do
with.
the wall stairs. And
Yeah.
I suppose
Love the
so.
wall stairs.
And besides which, I think they've cured all STDs by then, so even though he's going to maybe judge you a little bit, he knows that you're cured at least.
Well, I mean, Scotty himself had about a shore leave in this movie, we were told.
Oh.
What was that reference?
I think he got an STD.
Is that can't be the reference they were trying to put?
I mean,
he
either
got the clap or something.
He either had an STD...
Space crabs.
He either had an STD or a hangover that even he couldn't
or
deal with.
he had temporary liver failure.
See, I wondered it was like...
Well, they have pills for that,
If it was like Wolf in the Fold again, where he was having some kind of personal issue, went on shore leave, and had
Killed
to
a
go
bunch
to a
of women.
warehouse.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh god, well that is how
Whatever it was,
Scotty
he
goes
needed
shortly.
medical treatment for it. So
Yeah.
He's getting his stomach pumped, and we're giving him the lice shampoo on his genitals.
Yes.
Hooray!
they've reused obviously a lot of the sets from the motion picture.
Oh yeah, they saved so much money
But they
on this one.
rearranged
By switching
the
to
bridge.
Geico?
I don't know if you guys noticed that, but they rearranged the stations
Thank
in
you,
the
Caitlin.
bridge in some ways. Like
A little bit, yeah.
Like in the motion picture, the science station was immediately behind the captain's chair. In this movie, it was behind and a little to the right of the captain.
It probably
It
was...
was on the other side of the turbo lift door.
Yeah, well, it probably left a cleaner shot directly behind the captain's chair, I'm willing to
It's
bet.
also more in line with where Spock sat.
A
during the
little,
show.
yeah.
No, he was like front left from the captain's chair, wasn't he? In
Yeah,
the
but
show?
it was more to the captain's right.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
to the
okay.
left as
Sorry.
you're looking at the screen. But
Sorry,
yeah,
stage right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
but and Uhura was more directly behind the captain.
Yeah.
Speaking of fucking communications, poor Nichelle Nichols. She was so underused in this movie.
Yeah.
Takei too, actually. I feel like they
neither
both
of them,
kind of
they
got
really
the
didn't get a lot
shaft.
to do.
Yeah.
Though Nichelle Nichols being indignant when when Shatner or Kirk is like, "Oh, space is for the young" or whatever, and Nichelle's like,
Excuse me?
What's that? What does he mean by that?
And then later, when they first get onto the Enterprise and Kirk just gives her his book, like, here, you carry this. It's like, wow, asshole, she's not your secretary.
Why he still needs Yeoman Rand.
Yeah. Although I always kind of wondered, as they walk away, she's reading it because Kirk never took it back. And I kind of wonder if that's something she was told to do or something Nichelle Nichols was just like, no, I'm going to
I bet she did
act my ass off.
I bet she did it on her own. I love Nichelle Nichols so much.
You know who had lots to do?
Chekhov.
Yeah. And he hurt himself big time.
He did a great job getting hurt this
He did a good
movie.
job. Yeah, I think it was actually pretty good.
I had a wonderment.
He's definitely taken some acting lessons.
I had a wonderment about the SETI eels that I realized just after seeing it today.
Why do they call them eels if they're not from the ocean?
I didn't think that, but that's a good question. So they go into your ear, they wrap themselves around their brains, because why
Which,
the fuck
is that
not?
even possible, by the way? Like, I feel like they wouldn't be able to get to your cerebral whatever the fuck he said.
Probably like bore through
Your eardrum or some shit?
No, but I mean, isn't
would
that
hurt.
part of your body encased in bone somewhere?
No,
Very soft
there's
bits.
a hole in your skull, but behind.
You want to get you a skull to look at?
No.
Come here, Chris.
Skulls are pretty empty.
No, but my question is, so the idea of the
doubly
SETI
so.
eel is it affects how you think and it makes you more impressionable to suggestion.
And it hurts like a prick.
And it
apparently.
hurts like a prick, and or more than a prick.
Like a prick in the ear.
Ooh.
That's why he fucking
And that's
fucked
why
your ear.
whenever Khan tells them to do something, they do the thing and they follow
shame
command. Why do they only follow Khan's command and not Kirk's as well? Why is it that when Kirk's like, put the gun down, they don't put the gun down?
Maybe because it's like in direct opposition. Maybe it's like whoever
Well, then they
whoever
shouldn't
gives
do
the
anything.
first command can't,
Well, maybe that's why they end up conflicted.
because they're trying to
That's
decide which
how
one to do.
Chekhov survives, because there's like if the fucking brain bug ate part of his brain, maybe he just doesn't have enough brains. Who knows? Like Fry in Futurama, with the brain slugs. These things was what like killed most of Khan's people.
Yeah.
Well, but also the ones that killed Khan's people. Is it definitely that they were boring into the ear, or was it that they were like eating them alive in their sleep? Like
I was guessing that like they crawled into the ear while they were asleep or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why? Yeah, like that's what I couldn't figure out is why it eventually crawls out of Chekhov's head. Like what makes it
I
leave?
wondered that.
Is it like, oh, this guy's too dumb? I need a better brain.
I assumed whatever the hell Doc was doing caused it to freak out because it didn't look like his normal scanner.
Doc just standing around being gorgeous? What are you talking about?
Well, he had
oh
like
god, he was in this movie, wasn't he? I can't wait to talk about that.
he had that thing he was scanning him with, and I always kind of figured that had something to do with
because
it.
it's probably uses some kind of weird sonic technology or something. So maybe it was like woo 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 at like a frequency that really just drives brain slugs crazy.
Nice.
But I
well,
thought-
regardless, Kirk shouldn't shoot the thing because you should probably study it.
Well, not only that, but I remember saying, Jesus, it's a good thing he's a really good shot. A few inches up and no more Chekhov.
Well, I mean, is it good that he has a good shot?
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
But,
He needs to at least make it through 4. That's Chekhov's golden moments.
True. But yeah, Ames, what you were saying, like, I was thinking you were going to say, like, you know, they're conflicted because they've got the conflicting orders, and Chekhov eventually doesn't completely snap like Tyrell did because he was actually Kirk's subordinate for so long that something in him was able to, like, respond more to Kirk in a way Tyrell couldn't.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but Tyrell didn't shoot Kirk.
No, that's why, like, they were getting conflicting orders, which is why they both freaked out, but the reason Chekhov didn't snap like Tyrell did is partly because of his relationship to Kirk, maybe?
Yeah, I can see that. Can speaking of that scene, can I call the plot hole alert?
Here it comes.
Oh, but will you do the voice or?
What's the? Yeah, okay.
Yes, that. Thank
Well,
you.
so, Mr. Meyer, I have a little niggling thing to address with you about the scene in which Captain Tyrell shoots himself.
This isn't what I expected. Go on.
neither.
He tells Captain Kirk, he's on the phone to Khan and says, well, you have the coordinates of the Genesis device. You can beam it up. And he does. Why doesn't Khan then beam other people down to kill Kirk?
That's a good question.
That's because Khan is fucking insane and wants to have this whole huge, ridiculous supervillain thing.
I mean,
it's like why Dr. Evil doesn't just shoot Austin Powers like Scott suggests, because he wants it to be this grand gesture to like show Kirk how big his dick is or something.
Buried.
Now they actually do address it in the movie.
Oh,
like
okay.
it's not they do successfully close the plot hole in the movie, but I'm still calling bullshit.
What was the?
So the way they close it is Kirk gets on the phone to Khan after Tyrell shoots himself and is like, if you want to kill me, Khan, you're gonna have to come down here. You're gonna have to come down here. That's sort of how he says it. And then Khan is like, no, I'm just gonna let you rot inside the asteroid. But I still call bullshit on that because no. Khan would have beamed down, and it's the Dr. Evil thing. It's exactly Dr. Evil thing. No, I'm just going to leave him in the room with the sharks with lasers and assume that everything went well,
and not check
meanwhile,
later.
you have Seth Green being like, "No, just shoot him!
There's a
shoot him!"
a gun in my room.
Like the guy, like
I'd like to mention there's a cut scene with a little sidekick there being like, you know, sir, he has a point. Maybe we should.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you could tell that Khan's crew, like especially the
Joaquin.
one speaking role guy, like was getting sick of his bullshit. Like, we have the Genesis device. Let's just go home. Let's just go make a planet for ourselves and live there.
Yeah.
We could even go back to SETI Alpha
We
shit.
can destroy or create whatever we want.
Shitty Alpha 6.
Shitty Alpha 5.
Here's a problem I have, speaking of Khan's crew. Why are they all 20?
I wondered that too.
Because they
They're
age really
Superman.
slowly. He's the oldest, and they all.
Why
age
are they
really
younger
slowly.
than they were when they were
In the original episode? Yeah.
15 years earlier, they've aged -5 years.
They're Benjamin Buttoning that shit.
Like, I used to think maybe they were, like, the descendants of some of the originals, but he specifically says they swore a vow to him 200. So they're supposed to be the originals.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
question.
excuse me. There is another one actually that you realize he never says anything and he's off to the side. He looks like he's about Khan's age. He's the only other one who isn't 20 and looks like they're out of a German 80s fashion magazine.
Now here's the thing, though. We never actually see in Space Seed. We only see a handful of Khan's crew.
Yeah.
We know that there's 200 and something more of them, right?
I thought it was 78 or 79.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 78. So, yeah, you're right.
Still, there's a shitload of them.
So
that
we
don't
only see like a dozen or more
at most.
Well, right, because I think they were, like waking them up slowly and.
So right. So when they woke them, well, Khan woke them up. Remember,
Right,
he went
right.
over to the ship and woke them up. So he would probably only have woken up the most experienced ones that he had, who would be, good for taking over the ship.
Right.
For all we know, a bunch of the other ones are like 10-year-old children.
That's possible.
Or he left them in cryo even longer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
that's
what I'm saying is that there
he
might
only
have been
woke
more.
up some of them.
Yeah.
And then when
I
SETI
assume-
Alpha became fucked, he just ate them. And that's how they've been surviving, because there's no reason for them to survive if there's no fucking life on the planet.
Well, no, but they have the Botany Bay might have a replicator on
Well,
it.
that's
No,
not-
it's from the 90s. It
But
probably
no,
doesn't
but
have
here's
a
the
food
thing. It's
replicator.
actually not the Botany Bay. It is cargo containers
Yeah.
from the Enterprise.
Yeah, because they set the Botany Bay adrift.
Yeah, they set the Botany Bay adrift.
Why was there a Botany Bay?
Yeah, well, that's a
seatbelt in there?
like,
Someone had taken the belt with them.
like
Maybe they were using it as a belt or a weapon.
Khan was like, well, before you send the Botany Bay adrift, let me just get some souvenirs
I
so I
want
can
a
remember
memento."
my time in prison.
Speaking of souvenirs, there was something. This is only very tangentially related.
Hannibal Lecter liked to eat his victims?
So
No?
Red Dragon.
Souvenirs.
they also recycled Kirk's cabin from the motion picture because he's still got those weird.
His piano.
That too, but
the
also
pistols.
the weird wall. No, that's his apartment. His
Oh.
cabin on the Enterprise.
Oh, excuse me.
He's got those weird wall cabinets that look like the nacelles. But what I noticed this time, and I'd never noticed it before, is at the end of the film you can see he's got this weird little antique telescope that you earlier see in his apartment in the cabin. And it's like, you thought you were going to be along for a couple of day training mission.
He could have
You
two.
brought a memento?
It's his lucky telescope.
He knew he'd find a way to take command. Like, he just knew that he was going to be the
Yeah,
Yeah,
captain.
he's done
by
it
the end of
before.
the-
He'll do it again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here's another interesting thing I noticed, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think, and don't quote me on this, and some nerd that's listening can tell us maybe, but it looks like,
Some nerd.
but it looked to me like Kirk's quarters are later redressed to be Data's quarters on TNG. And the way I say that is because he's got that sort of half-rounded wall,
Oh, interesting.
which also Data has, and it's like a very specific looking wall.
When we get to TNG, I'll have to look.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they
I wouldn't be surprised.
reuse that set for Data's quarters.
Yeah, I mean, they reuse sets constantly on
I think
Star
it might have
Trek.
also been Worf's quarters at one point.
No, maybe.
They changed it up.
Yeah. They reused the Enterprise bridge as the
Reliant.
bridge.
Yeah.
And that's actually interesting, because Khan is only ever on SETI Alpha 5 or on the Reliant.
Yep.
Kirk and Khan are never in the same room together.
What do you mean reuse the Enterprise bridge?
For the
They-
Reliant.
They rearranged it, but it's all
so
the same.
it's the same set, yeah.
Yeah, they just put some shit
Well,
on.
that set lasts a long time.
Yes.
I think it's also the
They reuse
battle
it as
bridge
everything.
on the Enterprise.
Well, it shows up in TNG a couple times as a couple different bridges.
Yeah.
I was reading about it once.
Well, you know what they say. Don't burn your bridges.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's actually good.
It wasn't, but thank you.
Well, they're going to burn them.
But yeah, I think what you were saying, though, is I feel like I've heard this before, Shatner and
Ricardo Montalban.
were never even on set on the same day ever.
Yeah, they filmed 4 months apart.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why, to me at least, Khan not beaming down is stupid.
I feel like
too.
that was probably in an original version of the script, because there used to be a fight scene between the two, and I guess it got cut.
I do feel kind of like Khan would want to actually feel Kirk's skull crush in his hands and feel his blood. Like, that's kind of how I feel Khan would want.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a budget thing because they got so freaked out on motion picture that it cost $46 million fucking dollars.
Well, yeah, didn't you say this one was like
cost
11? Yeah.
Well, they certainly spent better money on their matte painter because the Genesis cave looked really cool.
Yeah,
Pretty.
that looked really good.
Oh, you know what I thought looked great too? I thought they had gotten a lot better with their ink and water.
For the Mutara Nebula.
Yeah. The space looked beautiful. I was
Yeah.
I was
Really
very
good.
impressed by that.
Cool.
And obviously, again, the fucking uniforms were
The much improved uniforms.
significantly
They're
better.
improved. I'm not a big fan of the fabric, the red of the normal uniform fabric. I was looking at it in the high def on the TV, and I swear my grandmother had a couch of that material.
Well, it was probably pretty cheap. If it was only $11 million, they probably... it might have been upholstery, seriously, you know?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I have another plot hole alert.
Oh my god!
Oh, I hope this is the one I thought it was going to be last time.
No,
I don't think
if
we
it's the
care
one that
about-
you no, because I'm specifically not going to bring that one up.
Okay.
Because that's one that everybody brings up.
Okay.
Everybody brings it up, and it's
I think
already
we brought
been
it up before,
explained many times. It's not worth talking about again. So I'm not going to bring that one up.
Excellent.
But this one I'm going to bring up is, how the fuck does Khan know what happened to SETI Alpha 6?
Yes! And how the fuck does the Reliant go to where SETI Alpha 6 should be and not realize that it's not there?
Because here's the thing. They're counting planets from the outside in, not the inside out.
No, but they should know the fucking coordinates.
I mean, they've got scanners that can see stuff from, like, thousands of kilometers away, and they somehow don't notice a whole... one of our planets is missing!
Hey!
That actually applies here! Like,
I feel like you mentioned this the first time we watched this film together. You were like, how do they not fucking notice a whole planet's
Yeah,
missing?
like, come on, guys. Like, again, with today's tech, sure. Because when you think about it, we only found Pluto less than a century ago.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they've got fucking scanners that are basically magic. And they somehow... You think the guy did notice when bothering him? There's supposed to be 6 here? Whatever.
Yeah, and then
Fucking
but
Kyle.
like I'm more like I can get like some mistake, clerical error, somebody wrote down a 6.
Chekhov's not paying a fucking
But the
attention.
fact that
Fucking
that
Chekhov.
Khan knew exactly from a scientific perspective what happened, that the planet blew up, our
He's
orbit
a superhuman,
changed.
duh.
What does he have did they send him down with telescopes and
His
science
his
equipment?
eyes are that good.
I mean, they presumably sent them down with... Because the plan at the end of Space Seed had been to give them stuff so they could try to sort of survive. And they may have given them a telescope for different purposes. Or, I mean, hell, if you're on a planet, you don't have maps, you're gonna navigate by the stars.
Well,
And, I mean, in theory, if they know the planet exploded, it must have exploded at a point where the two planets were... if the explosion was enough to knock the planet out of kilter, it must have been, like...
very close.
They must have been in the same general...
But here's the thing, I feel like if there was an explosion that was close enough to knock it out of its orbit like that it would have killed everything on the planet, including them. Like, I don't think if
That's
they were
fair,
there
too.
for it, I don't think they would have survived
They're
it. Like,
superhumans.
think about how like an asteroid of a certain size would completely fucking fuck all of humanity if it hit Earth. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like
I'm not a physicist, so take this with a grain of salt, but I'm not sure that it's necessarily that the force of the explosion knocked the planet out, because I think what I always imagined what it was that, in a solar system, the planets affect each other's orbits just by being there and being
that's a good point.
being sources of gravity.
Yeah.
So if Mars just vanished one day, its effect on the Earth's orbit would change
oh fuck.
Yeah.
how Earth's orbit worked. Sort of like, how the moon affects tides and things like that.
But yeah, I'd never thought about that before.
Yeah, that's
but-
how I've always sort of figured it was. It wasn't like the explosion knocked it out, but that like the planet went away and therefore it changed all the orbits of the nearby planet.
But if that happened,
It's
would
been
it?
25 years. That wouldn't happen that
not even,
little
it's like
time.
15 years. Isn't
15.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he keeps saying
15,
15 years.
Yeah.
Would
But
it
it only
would
takes
it
a
get
little
closer or further away if that happened? If we removed a planet,
I think it just depends, because like orbits are elliptical
right?
in part because of how they're interacting with other planets.
And it would
So-
also depend on how like long a year is on those planets, and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of
Who knows?
math involved.
But but to your point, it doesn't take much change in the distance to have a great effect on the environment. Because just think about like how between winter and summer, how different the environment can be, and that's only.
Well, that's not distance. That's angle as well.
But the angle is also it's because the sun is physically farther away.
It's not that I don't think it's that it's physically far away. I think it's that it's
because the light is
the light is coming at an angle instead of straight on.
Right.
Is that really why?
That's one of the major reasons.
Still,
that
maybe
sounds more plausible anyway.
Maybe it could have caused orbital wobble.
Yeah, maybe it just tilted a little bit, and that was all it took.
Maybe.
But still, it does feel like 15 years wouldn't be enough to make it a complete desert wasteland if...
Maybe there was, like, radiation or something.
Maybe a chunk of City Alpha 6 crashed into City Alpha 5. And just,
give
like, not big
reverse
enough...
ice age?
Yeah, something.
Mm-hmm.
Or
all the dinosaurs died off.
Yeah.
Also, when Chekhov is scanning the planet, he detects a tiny possible, like, not even sure it's a life form.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, there's like could be a microbe. We should go check it out. There's like
20 people.
A town.
A couple dozen people. How shitty are the sensors on the Reliant that they can't pick up not just all the people, but the fucking creatures, the earwig bugs that live there?
I mean, in the past, certainly there hasn't been an issue with stuff like that.
Maybe Chekhov also needs glasses, and he isn't.
I think they were they were so set on finding a planet that they could use their fucking device on. This was probably good enough.
What I
don't
don't
even
understand
check.
though is like there's dead planets everywhere.
How hard is it to find a rock? If they hadn't fucking used regular for Phase 2, they could have used regular.
Like, are they actually saying that... Are they saying that life is so abundant in the Star Trek universe that every single planet... Like, there's... Like
there
moons,
could be like
the moons
though.
of Jupiter and things like that.
I was gonna say, couldn't they have just gone to Venus?
Yeah.
Like, how far do you have to go?
Chiron.
But, they probably didn't want to,
I mean, there might be some requirements, like it has to be in the habitable zone around a star.
Well, and they probably also didn't want to do it too close to home, just in case it, blew up the planet and then fucked up the Earth's orbit. They probably want to go fuck somebody else's orbit up first.
But I think that's actually the best point, is like...
Yeah, it has to be where
if you're in the habitable zone, you're less likely to have a completely dead world.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, Venus... I mean, we can't live there, but there's probably some sort of microbial life on it. Mars...
Well, I don't know. I mean, is there? I feel like they've been looking and they haven't really found...
We can't really... I don't think we've
that
ever
the
gotten...
atmosphere is so caustic that we can't even, send probes down to the
Yeah,
surface.
we don't know much about what's going on.
Is it really acidic? Is that what the deal is with Venus?
I don't know if
it's
it's acidic. It's I think it's like sulfurous. I think it's...
Oh, is that what it is?
Gross.
Yeah, yeah.
It even eats through anything you send there.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, Mars has ice caps, which means at some point there was water, which means there's probably some kind of, or was some kind of
Well, and I
life
feel
there.
like they have found that there has been something on Mars.
Yeah, so I mean, if
Not
it's...
definitively.
Oh,
But
right.
Not that they've
That
reached the public.
That would be
Is
huge,
there life on
huge
Mars?
news.
Yeah, that's where they're keeping it from the public, so people don't fucking shit themselves.
But yeah, that's I think the best point, because I was thinking that, but you're right, like, finding a completely dead world that is also, would stay alive after you have Genesis.
Yeah, there's probably is actually all kinds of requirements, which is actually why it makes sense that it would be SETI Alpha 5, because they used to be a habitable world.
Yeah.
Up until 15 years ago.
Yeah, and actually you see SETI Alpha 5 in Enterprise. It's very nice.
Yeah.
I have a question. Habitable world. Wouldn't, in theory, whatever you shoot down the Genesis, like, if you shoot the Genesis device onto a planet, would the life that develops there not just be life that could live where it was? Or is it specifically making Earth life? I mean...
Well, it looks like it was making Earth life. Like, it was basically... It was terraforming.
It was making Class M planets. But since it seems like 97% of the Federation is Class M species, it's all good.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was wondering if it was, dependent on where you actually shoot the thing in, or if it's just whatever you program it to do.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more of a programming thing, because it is a Matrix.
It's also interesting. This is sort of the first time you get an inkling that not all is peaceful inside the Federation, in the sense that the scientists on Regular One were not trusting of Starfleet. Like,
David mostly.
They went from 0 to really pissed off awfully quick.
Well, yeah.
Well, they would have their
seems
life's work co-op.
Yeah, that's true, in their
Yeah,
defense.
but they're convinced. Well, David especially is convinced that the military, as they call Starfleet, wants to use it for a weapon.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, we all, throughout most of Star Trek, we're getting the story from the Starfleet perspective.
Yeah.
It's seldom do we see the civilians' view of Starfleet. So it'd be interesting to know, is that a problem? Like, does Starfleet often co-opt civilian science projects for nefarious purposes? Does David actually have a reason to be concerned about this?
I mean, what's the Admiral Marcus in this universe like?
That's true. It's probably the same as the Admiral Marcus in the reboot universe.
Probably a dickhead.
Probably a dickhead.
What real-life event do we think that like, because if you assume that art is always being influenced by the time, what scientists would have been really, really pissed at the government in the 80s? Aside from all of them. Actually, probably anyone who's ever made weapons, right? Because weren't, like, weapons getting shifted around to people that shouldn't have them and stuff?
There
That's always
was like, but I wonder, I mean, it's interesting. I can't think of instances where civilian technology has been...
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah, that's
Stuff is
true.
made for the military, and then the rest of us get it.
Yeah.
Well, we have one reader who I bet we can count on for that, so hopefully he'll fill us in.
One thing I noticed this time that, again, I'd never noticed before somehow is one of the guys on Regula has the Starfleet insignia worked into his uniform. His little science outfit. But it's not like he doesn't have a badge, and he's still in a uniform that looks more or less like the other scientist outfits. But it's the one that actually eventually gets zapped by Tyrell in the cave.
Oh, whoops.
But he's got like a big sort of patch there. Wait, I never noticed that before. Is he supposed to be like... He's clearly not full Starfleet, because he's not going like, no, wait a minute, let's all calm down. When people are getting pissed at Starfleet. But he's got the arrowhead, and it's just like...
Is there like an FDA
branch? Is he like a liaison? Is he... Oh god, who was that dickhead with the sleeves in Galileo 7? What was his position? He was a Federation... what was his title? Remember he had those sleeves and he was like, Kirk, we gotta go! And Kirk is like, but my crew.
Yeah, he was some kind of attaché.
Yeah, so I wonder if he was like some sort of liaison or something.
Maybe.
Certified by Starfleet, but not actually Starfleet.
Speaking about arrowheads, what do you guys think about Khan's necklace? Because his necklace is clearly the belt buckle from a Star Trek II era Starfleet uniform.
Yep.
Did he take that from one of the Reliant crew?
No, because he's got it the minute he takes off his cloak on SETI Alpha 5. He already had that. It's always bugged me.
But they don't... Yeah, exactly, because there's no reason he would have that belt buckle, because they didn't wear that belt buckle on the original series.
Like, unless we're supposed to assume Khan, in his obsession, made himself a little Starfleet medallion that just happened to end up looking like the belt buckles they have. Yeah, that's always bugged me. Even if, like you said, if you just waited till he was on the Reliant, you could figure he had co-opted it, because he's wearing a coat for a little while at one point.
But yeah, it's also clearly, like, old and burned, and...
Yeah.
Like, how much time did he spend after he took over the Reliant for arts and crafts? Alright, we've got the ship,
Well,
let's make necklaces!
But that's
Kirk took a lot of time to read his book, so
He sure
maybe
did.
there was an agreed-upon break in the action for like a week where everyone could,
arts and crafts and read and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that
Shore
necklace has
leave.
always bothered me.
Why would he even have that?
Fixation on Starfleet because of Kirk.
I guess, but
Because the costume designer thought it would be nice to like show the culture moving over.
Well, nice fucking call, costume
It's the same
designer.
reason
You
why they
fucked
have
up.
the belt buckles the seat belts from
Botany
Bay. Like, it's just like, let's drop this in here because it's
Well,
cool.
Being fair, that was probably the props mistress or master.
I mean, again, I could see him sort of just in his obsession on SETI Alpha 5, sitting there going, just fixating on Kirk and Starfleet and their iconography. The only problem, again, is just that he happens to have something that looks like, if it was just like, if it looked a bit more like the patches they'd worn back in the 60s, or rather back when he first met them, that would have been less distracting.
And then you could have explained it away as being like an officially, what do you call it, when they give you a thing? Because you're commissioned. You could say it was like an officially commissioned, keychain that he stole on his way out or something.
Wait, well, okay.
They sent him down to SETI Alpha 5 with some swag.
No, wait.
Here's your Starfleet mug.
Maybe.
And a Starfleet blanket.
This is kind of a stretch, but maybe. It was from some sort of plaque or award or something that belonged to his wife.
Could be.
And he took it off after she died.
Marla?
I thought you were going to say that he...
McGivers.
I was hoping you were going to say that he had broken it off of something Kirk owned, like someone stealing the...
Hood ornament off a car?
Yeah.
That also is funny. But yeah, it could have been
It's
something...
actually the Enterprise's hood ornament. He broke it off on his way out.
But yeah, maybe it was something of hers.
Yeah. You know what's terribly sad is Marla McGivers was supposed to be a character in the movie, but the actress Madeline Rue had contracted MS, and
that is
it wasn't
sad.
going to work out.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeez.
Assuming the character was dead, gave Khan more impetus.
Yeah, I mean, he blamed Kirk for
it gave him the whole Captain Ahab characterization going on.
I wonder if she was going to be the one that was trying to be the voice of reason then
that would be
in the original script.
Also, she'd be the one that'd be able to tell them, like, shoot the Enterprise exactly right here if you want it to actually shut down.
Yeah.
Which I think Chekhov had to probably do.
Khan might have already... Khan would have already maybe known that, though. He read all the technical
read the entire technical spec of the Enterprise.
Though it had changed so much that both his information and MacGyver's would have both been...
Well, he could have also
the
read...
The Reliant
probably has.
That's fair.
And they're already logged into, Starfleet Wikipedia or whatever.
Yeah, I was wondering how the Khan's crew could figure out how to fly the fucking thing, how to go and repair the fucking thing, and do all the maneuvering with
they're wicked smart.
They're wicked smart, but they're also 200 fucking years behind.
What I just want to see...
It's a lot of catching up to do in the hour it takes to go...
It only took Khan 2 hours in sickbay.
Yeah. I just want to see all the poor fucking Reliant crew crammed into the space that had previously been for 78 people. Although I'm sure a lot of them were killed during the insurrection, but still, I imagine... I don't know what the crew complement of a Miranda-class starship is, but I'm sure it's more than 78 people.
Yikes.
Speaking of Miranda-class, so we learn that starships have a prefix code that you can use to... So is it...
Why doesn't Savick know this? She loves being by the book.
Well, here's the thing about that technology, about that thing. It's very convenient. Is the only command that you can issue using this shields down? Is that the command? Because I
turn engines off?
If you were going to build that feature into a starship to be able to remote control it, because that would have to have been designed into the ship. Yeah. It seems like that would be a great feature for you have a runaway ship or someone's stolen a ship.
Yeah.
You could
fly it into the sun.
Shut down the warp drive. Shut down all power. Lock out all bridge controls.
Cut off oxygen.
Shut off the weapons.
Turn on the neurotoxin they apparently have.
Yeah.
Release the whales.
Release anesthesia.
Release the bees. The security bees. There's a bunch of bees in tiny red shirts with
and
for
that matter, having an actual self-destruct too.
Yeah. So I would assume that the feature allows you essentially to control any systems.
You'd think, yeah.
That would make sense. But apparently, the only thing it lets you do is take the shields down.
Maybe that's just the only thing Kirk thought to do.
Kirk's like, I just want to shoot him. he's like, I could shut him down. I could shut down the warp drive. I could shut down the impulse drive. I could make them dead in the water, and we could board the ship and take it back over. But no, we'll just bring their shields down so I can shoot them.
Kirk has a bad history with obsession too.
That's true.
And he did, Khan did fuck with his baby mama and his baby.
It's true.
Though Kirk never really seems that upset about it. He seems to kind of just be fucking laughing at Khan the whole time.
Yeah, aside from that first blow Khan gets on him.
Yeah, well, Khan surprised him.
Doesn't he literally say, I'm mocking you, Khan? Or doesn't he, say something like that?
I'm laughing at you?
Yeah.
I'm laughing at you, yeah.
I'm laughing at the superior intellect. That's taken to follow him into the nebula.
I wonder if Kirk's going to get into any kind of trouble for not approaching the Reliant with shields up, like Savick chastised him for.
I mean, he should, but he won't because he's Kirk and he's made of fucking Teflon.
White male privilege, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if it was brought up, they could be like, yeah, but it was another... like Khan says, one big happy fleet.
Yeah. They make a big deal in the movie that Kirk has never, confronted death. And then with the whole Kobayashi Maru thing, with the whole Spock dying thing. He's confronted death a fucking lot, though. He watched his brother died.
His friend.
But what was his name?
Gary...
Mitchell.
Gary
Mitchell died.
Gary 7.
Didn't he take the Kobayashi Maru twice
Three
before?
times.
Yeah. So the third time or the fourth time was the one that he actually did?
That's what
You've taken it and failed.
They keep saying he's
Edith
never had to do
Keeler.
it. Well, and not to mention countless red shirts.
Well, the red shirts he doesn't give a fuck about.
Some of whom he actually got really connected to and actually got all weepy about later. There were a couple instances where he's like, I knew his father. What are they going to say?
Well, and we also
had sad.
And the moment with Scotty's nephew, he was being really touchy-feely,
Scotty, go to the fucking med bay. Don't bring a fucking dying kid on the bridge.
He was in shock. Do not give him shit for that.
I'm gonna give him shit because he has to fucking follow order, and he's the one that should keep his shit together because he's the chief engineer.
But that's his nephew!
He is in shock.
That's his only nephew, isn't it? Like his...
No, it's his sister's youngest, so she's got a bunch.
Then fuck it.
But
Maybe
that's
he killed
clearly
them too.
that is clearly his favorite nephew because he's in space and he's an engineer. It's the son he never had.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does Scotty not have any kids?
No,
Scotty ever have a woman?
not that I know.
Scotty
of.
never has a woman? All this poon chasing he does in the show, and Scotty never settles down to pop out a few puppies
like
with a wifey?
He's
We've
actually gay. Like,
Oh.
that's revealed in Next Generation, that he was actually gay the whole time.
I think Jake is.
I know. The thing is, I know you're lying, but I would be so all about that if that was the case.
I mean, I feel like we talked about this once in an early
Like
episode.
the loneliness episode?
None of them
Yeah.
ever really settle down.
McCoy should. He's got Natira waiting on an asteroid.
does.
Well, we
Speaking
know
of
Sulu
McCoy.
has a daughter.
Speaking of McCoy.
oh, speaking of
Speaking
McCoy.
of getting chills.
God, did he look handsome.
Getting chills already. Apparently, there was a plot element in an original script where he was supposed to have a love interest who was way younger than him.
So it could have been one of us. is
I
what
was
you're
hoping.
saying.
I mean, I was going to call the casting and say, "Hey guys, you need somebody."
We
You
can
need
write
someone
that
back in
fanfic.
1981.
Yeah, I wasn't even a glimmer in my
I don't
parents'
even
eyes
care.
yet in 1981.
I'll do it now. Just Photoshop me in.
But to go back to your
Say-
point about Kirk and not facing death, I feel
right.
like in some ways that was meant more metaphorically, because obviously as a starship captain he has faced a lot of death, as we know.
It was meant metaphorically. I'm going to make this blatantly untrue statement, but I mean it metaphorically.
Well, I think that like he's never faced death in a way that he didn't feel like he had control. Maybe like it's less about having someone die and more about the fact that he has someone die and that he really cares about, and there's nothing that he can
Which is kind of
do
like
to
a
the
prevent
Kobayashi
it.
no-win
Maru.
situation.
Right.
But say you've never had to deal with a no-win situation,
Yeah.
because at least that's a legit thing to say, and it isn't just fucking blatantly stupid and
True.
not true.
That is a good
Caitlin's on the
point.
mark here.
Thank
Also,
you.
I kind of wonder, like, let's.
But it'd still be wrong, because he still did the goddamn Kobayashi Maru 3 times and had to do it twice and no-win twice before he
Yeah,
just
but he
decided
could,
to cheat.
but he didn't accept that no-win situation.
Well, that's fair.
He
Okay.
cheated.
Well,
I
the
didn't mean
thing
to cut
is,
you, sorry.
even if you do accept it, like, the Kobayashi Maru is basically a video game.
Pew pew.
Like, how much can you really say you've faced a no-win scenario if you're doing it in something that you know is fake?
I had a wonderment. I have a lot of wonderments.
Ooh, so many wonderments.
It's a wonderful movie.
The wonderments of Khan.
And because this happens a fucking lot, where they enter neutral, like the neutral zone or neutral space or wherever the fuck.
Yep.
What the fuck are the rules of neutral space? Because it seems whenever they enter neutral space, either the Romulan neutral space or the Klingon neutral space, or however many neutral spaces there are in space,
Yeah.
there's always like a Romulan, ship or a Klingon ship right there. It's like, should they be in neutral space?
I think it's more like...
Are they
I think it's
patrolling?
more
Are they
like
allowed
a
to?
demilitarized zone where you're just... Neither side is supposed to go there.
Yeah.
But if
Like
the-
international
but they're-
waters, sort of?
Not
No.
even that. Like the Korean
DMZ.
where like there's like a stretch of land. I don't even know how wide. Not very wide.
No.
That separates
North and South
Korea, where neither side is supposed to go. And if you
How do
go,
you police that then?
you stand on the borders of it,
Snipers
you stand
on
next
top
to
of
it, and you
walls
just
next
watch,
to
and you
it.
say, "Oh wait, okay, a North Korean just walked into the zone. Treaty violation, shoot him."
Which literally, I mean, they just sit there and glare at each other across.
It's like the
Yeah.
Butter
The
Battle
DMZ.
book up in here.
More or less.
But like, so it's probably more like that, where there's just listening posts all along the neutral zone that are just waiting for the other side.
And there's
to,
like
to
the federations on this side, and if like a random Romulan ship that isn't going after someone who's already in there, they can jump in too.
Maybe. The other thing
Who's
to remember too
patrolling
is
that?
like how stupid is Starfleet to put a neutral zone when the people on the other side of the neutral zone have cloaking devices.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like they can be violating that neutral zone constantly. Not even that, they could be in your space.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Con!
Like, the Romulans could be flying right up to Earth and stealing Earth's cable.
You know what they're doing? They're flying up to Earth. They're beaming
Wi-Fi.
down. They're leaving deuces in people's toilets without flushing, and then beaming up.
Harsh.
And then, so that's why, like, there's, like, people on Earth are just, every time you go into the bathroom, it's like, there's a giant green shit in the toilet.
And Romulan deuces are 10 times more potent than human deuces.
I love the idea that some spoiled, rich Romulan kid, like, actually does that.
Yes.
Like, goes all the way to Earth, beams
down.
down into the Federation president's personal toilet, shits, and then gets out.
Yeah, it's the Romulan equivalent of like a burning bag of dog shit on your doorstep.
Oh, it's amazing.
I love it.
So, I've been keeping this in the whole time, and I'm
Whoa.
bring it up now.
We had a bathroom break.
I am, as I said before, the self-appointed aesthetics police for this show. I am so happy to be in what I consider Star Trek's aesthetic high point. You know, they took the good ship from the last movie and carried it over. They burnt all the uniforms or whatever. Actually, apparently some of them were dyed and reused.
Yeah,
but,
I think I saw some of those buckles come back up.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
Carol
sure...
had a buckle.
Yeah, and I think the watches that, the little wrist communicators that Khan's crew had, as well as Terrell and Chekhov, I wouldn't be surprised if they were repurposed from the stupid Apple watches they had in the motion picture.
Like it or not, smart watches are here to stay.
Anyway, but, you know, we've got the best uniforms ever as far as I'm concerned. They should have just stuck with these from there on out with only minor changes over the years.
Could have used more tailoring, if I'm being frank.
I mean, maybe a little, but that's the minor changes. You know, tweak them a little. Maybe
the coats were sweet. I like the coats.
Love those coats. Those
coats
coats
are
are the
really
best.
Oh yeah, the like parka looking shit with the wide, with the really nice.
Oh yeah, the
wide,
away team jackets.
Yeah, those are nice.
I love these uniforms.
I love that.
They're basically perfect, even if the rank insignia are a little impossible to understand.
Also, the department colors are less clear.
Yeah, those
the
could
collars are colored, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The turtlenecks.
Yeah, and it's like white for command, mint green for medical.
Look good
and,
on him, though. Everything looks good on him.
True. But I mean, like minor tweaks. Maybe make the departmental sections a little more clear. Maybe make the rank insignia a little more clear. But aside from that, these are, as far as I'm concerned, the best Star Trek uniforms ever.
Yeah, I like these too.
Yeah, they're
ship's
very
great.
military. They went crazy military with
They
this
did,
movie.
and the score. This
also
is
very
my
military.
favorite Star Trek theme.
It's a good one.
Hummabar? Okay, yeah, that is nice.
It reminds me of The Wizard of Oz in like kind of a weird like MGM really big grandiose film way. Does anybody else feel that way? Can anybody else understand what I mean when I say that? Chris
No.
didn't understand what I meant.
I mean, I just it's too
I know it's
tied up in Star Trek for me to look at it in any other way.
Well, I also think there's actually a bar of music that sounds like that in The Wizard of Oz when they're showing the like opening.
Maybe.
There's like some opening words at the beginning, like on the screen, and I feel like it's got a very similar.
Maybe. But yeah, like when they took the motion picture theme for Next Gen, it's like maybe you should have gone with the other one. Basically, I just feel like Star Trek, for all they did, they should have
used it for DS9. I'm not a fan of DS9s.
They should have just stopped here aesthetically, but then improved everything else.
Yeah, I mean the one thing about the uniforms too is the tailoring, like the way, like it's not just the design of the uniform that's really good, but the way that they were cut on the actors was really, really sharp. Like,
well, especially compared to those
Spock looks about 20 feet long.
Yeah,
He's so fucking thin.
Oh God, and bones too.
So
he had
thin.
legs for days in that suit. Oh shit!
You know what I actually like? I still don't understand the engineering. Like, I have a big suction cup in my chest uniform.
Well, that's for their little breathing apparatuses when there's gas in the air.
Sure, okay. But, well, we saw, I don't know how much of McCoy's surgical
his wonderful
medical
white
coat. That was a fucking sweet coat.
That was really nice.
And when he did his leap in front of Spock to say, "Don't go in the fucking radiation chamber," and the coat just kind of flaps behind him, like, ooh.
Damn it, I have to rewatch that. Well, we're gonna get to, as it turns out. I'm not paying much closer attention.
Yeah, no, these are just, oh god, leaps and bounds over the motion picture garbage.
Well, anything. I think like babies' jammies with like giraffes and koalas on them,
and footies,
I mean,
with footies and a butt flap.
Oh, butt flap.
That's basically
More
what those
clothing should have
uniforms
butt
were.
flaps.
No.
Yeah, no, they should.
God damn it, Kate.
I'm sorry. Though I will say this, a couple things, and especially because I'm now looking at the poster. I have some beef with whatever the fuck Khan is wearing.
I liked his glove. The glove
No,
was
that's
cool.
the thing. Where
You
the
didn't
fuck
like
did
the
that
glove?
come from? What is that? MacGyver's hand? Did he like fucking dip her fucking fingers in fucking metal and just put them on his fucking hand
I
like a
imagine-
psycho? Where did that shit come from?
It was like metal bits or something on the glove, and I can only imagine it's because
Life is so harsh.
Life is so harsh. Maybe he has like a wounded hand.
Okay, but why? Okay, well,
No.
I'm just saying.
Well,
it's
because both his gloves did have the metal.
Some
He just
weird-
only took one
some
off.
weird Michael Jackson shit going on at some
Why
point.
does Saavik on the poster look more like the actress from Star Trek 3
Right?
than Kirstie Alley?
That's so weird.
That is weird. So we're looking at the poster right now.
Or Michael
And-
Jackson, possibly also
a little
Michael
bit.
Jackson.
One thing that I cannot stand about Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan is the fucking tagline. The tagline is
Oh,
so
it's terrible.
stupid.
"At the end of the universe lies the beginning of vengeance," which
Yeah,
is
no,
to me
that-
like they just threw magnetic poetry
Why
at a
is the
fridge.
Enterprise attacking Regular One?
Fucking regular one had it coming, all right?
Yeah, why are they phasering Regular?
Yeah,
Whoever
it's
did
makes
this poster did not know anything about the movie.
No. Or what Kirstie Alley looked like.
They kind of got the little hooded figures in the background right, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Does make them seem like they're going to be a bigger deal than they are.
Yeah,
at least
they're
in
not,
those
for
outfits.
like 2 seconds.
You know what the tagline for the motion picture was?
No.
It was the human adventure is beginning.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They're just
That's
really
dumb.
bad at taglines.
This is the one to see, the very best of
Oh,
all.
that's a quote. That's
I
not a
know.
tagline.
I know. But
Which one is that?
6.
6.
Oh.
Though, first contact, resistance is futile.
That's
really-
good.
That's
Right,
that-
they got
yeah.
it.
Well, that's just
Makes
a line
sense.
from the show.
Well, good.
But still,
that
but it-
still works.
That's also a thing you hear a lot. Like, people will still say that a lot, so
Yeah.
I don't know if they originated it, but it definitely caught on.
It
But
works.
yeah, what the fuck was Khan wearing?
Patchwork.
It was supposed to
stuff.
look like they've been living on their own for 15 years, and
But they
just
got
had to,
really good at sewing.
They would in 15 years
That's
if
true.
you have to
And they
like
are
keep
really
sewing your
smart.
clothes back together.
But
and that's
also-
how Charlie Day is supposed to. Not Charlie Day. Charlie Kelly on Always Sunny lived, remaking his own clothes.
Well, his pecs looked great, so whatever he's been doing, he's also been...
People used to think that they were prosthetics. They are not.
No.
Okay. Also, the way the nacelle pylon connects to the nacelle
Yeah,
is
you-
too far back.
You gotta try to maybe repeat it into the...
I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. I'm just nitpicking the poster.
Yeah, we'll make sure to share it so you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be able to see what we're talking about. They'll be like, these fucking nerds.
But yeah, no,
How
I
long
mean,
did we talk about fucking Khan's necklace though? So
that's true.
movie marketing materials are often made by fucking lunatics who clearly know nothing about the project they're selling, so,
True that.
you know.
We haven't talked too much about the character of Saavik.
There's not really much to
Saavik.
say about her. She's boring. She's just another fucking Vulcan who like doesn't understand people and really wants to play by the rules.
she's
like
a half Vulcan, half Romulan, which I don't think made it into the movie, but
No.
everywhere I read, they call her the Vulcan Romulan,
Huh.
So
which
that
should have been explored.
That explains why she is emotional at times during the movie. Like she cries about, or she's got tears in her eyes.
oh, it's
at the
Spock's funeral. Yeah, I wondered about that too.
I
Actually.
mean, I just wrote it off as she's young, so isn't quite as good as controlling her emotions yet as other Vulcans.
I think when they asked the director Nicholas Meyer about that, they said you can't have her cry. She's a Vulcan. Vulcans don't cry. His response was, "That's what makes her so interesting."
See, I do think she's interesting.
what a bullshit thing to say.
I like it. I give him credit.
No, I mean it's
and
good,
I
but
think-
it's sorry, Jake.
I mean, we'll probably talk about this during Star Trek 3.
Ugh.
But if I were to rewrite, if I'm
recast.
if I'm going into Paramount HQ the day after Wrath of Khan is a smash success, and they're like, okay, well, we want to do a third one. Here's my pitch for Star Trek 3.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm
Ooh.
very
You
excited.
ready for my pitch for Star Trek 3?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Khan is
But
still alive.
Keep in mind that Simon Pegg is listening and will be probably stealing it for the fourth Kelvin
Please
movie.
do.
Hi, Simon.
So
Love you.
it's more or less here it is. So at the end of the Wrath of Khan, Spock does the remember thing to McCoy, downloading his Vulcan consciousness into McCoy.
Yep.
Katra, right?
Yes.
So that's what they call it in Star Trek 3, yeah. At the beginning of Star Trek 3, so it's more or less the same setup for Star Trek 3 that there is. So Saavik and David are on a science vessel. They're surveying the Genesis planet. Kirk and crew are back home. They're having a toast to absent friends. Sarek shows up and says, well, Kirk, so I think, so Spock, when he died, he should have downloaded his consciousness into you, so let me check. Oh, no, he didn't. What a dingus. And he's like, okay, well, and where's his body? We need his body. We need to bring his body back to Vulcan.
And Kirk's like,
really, so if you're paying attention, if you know Star Trek 3, so far this is the exact plot of Star Trek 3.
We'll get there next week.
But here's the difference.
Yes.
Instead of Spock coming back to life on the Genesis planet, they're going there for the same reason that they actually steal the Enterprise, which is to retrieve the body. That is why Star Trek 3, that's why they go there, to retrieve the body. They don't know he's back to life.
That's true.
They're just going there to get the body for Sarek. So when they get there, they're there with Bones, who's crazy.
Love it. That's the best.
Because he's got Spock in there too. And they save the day. David gets killed. They get Saavik, and then they gotta go back to Vulcan on board the Bird of Prey. And what we find, and it turns out that McCoy is inches from death, from going completely mad with Spock's consciousness. So to save McCoy, Saavik sucks out Spock's consciousness from McCoy's penis.
Wait, what?
I mean, face. She
Ames and I are like, go on.
and then we learn that another new thing that we didn't know about Vulcans before is that they have a consciousness that spans generations, very much like the Trill, which we will meet in Next Generation and Deep Space Nine.
We meet them in TNG too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice.
Which they have a symbiotic relationship with a symbiont that lives inside of them, and whenever a Trill dies that has the symbiont, it passes on to another Trill, and then that Trill has all of the life experiences and memories and friendships that
boxes within boxes
that the previous generations has. So we find out that Vulcans have the same exact thing, and then Saavik becomes the next iteration of Spock.
I would like that.
So,
and I feel like,
as soon as she downloads Spock from Kirk, and maybe you need the body of the previous host to complete the ritual, and that's why they needed the body. But Saavik wakes up after the ritual, and she looks at Kirk and goes, "Jim," or she said, she recognizes Kirk, she recognizes all her friends, and then we continue the film series with Saavik in the role previously filled by Spock.
And then we can feel okay about paying Kirstie Alley to stay on board.
Right, and then because now she's the main character. Now, it's basically what they do with the character of Dax in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It kind of sucks the way they do it.
Yeah.
But, but I think that because they introduced I think that might have even been kind of what they were planning.
Well, so I was going to say,
by
that feels,
having this character.
Yeah, that totally feels, especially if Leonard Nimoy was like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore, then it seems like that's the perfect way to do it. Because why else did they bother with the Remember? Because at the end of 2, they probably didn't think we're going to make 3 and bring him back. They probably just thought, we have to have a plan, so
we can do something for the
so I think you're totally right on the mark.
And that's why you can have Spock come back and not, let's be cheapen this great moment. At the end of 2.
Such a good
so
death.
You kind of get the best of both worlds. You have Spock's death remain a meaningful sacrifice, and yet you also get to keep the character around in a sense. And then you have, because obviously one of the great things about Star Trek 4 is Spock's hijinks and readjusting to life as a living person, as well as dealing with, ancient 80s Earth. But you could also have it be, you could add an element to it of Kirk trying to reconcile, you are basically my friend.
Yeah. Like in DS9 when Cisco is reacquainting with Jadzia Dax after having known previous Dax.
You can still have Saavik being a little off kilter because she's trying to deal with the fact that she's still her, but suddenly also has this ages-old experience floating around.
I like it.
Can I offer the one problem as I see it, is that I feel like Saavik is already too interested in Kirk, and I feel like Kirk is already kind of too interested in Saavik. So I feel like they totally go to Bone Town if that happens.
The one problem I'm seeing with this is if we want to actually pitch this to Simon Pegg and the rest of the Kelvin timeline people, is they like Zachary Quinto too much to let him go.
I like Zachary Quinto too.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't for Simon Pegg. This is for...
It can be.
This is for Paramount executives in 1983.
Yeah,
Okay.
Simon Pegg.
We need to somehow get this back in time.
Yeah.
I do like that, but I really do think that would be a problem. I
So
think
I-
There
don't-
was a traction there.
I don't think...
but then we could have a good Kirk,
But-
Doc, Saavik three-way, and we'd all be happy.
Hey, we still could.
I mean,
Let's
Saavik
not
does go
be
to Bone Town
homophobic.
with young Spock, too, though.
Okay, well, we're getting there
Wait,
next
what
week.
happened?
That's next week.
We're getting there next week.
We'll talk about it.
Now, I gotta say, though, actually, because this is something I did want to talk about, I don't think she's really into Kirk. I think she's fascinated by him as...
A case study?
Yeah, and the reason she sort of shows up with the new hair and the shirt is because, like, alright, I've read his file. I know he's a hornball. If I, like, kind of...
So they haven't completely skipped over the first movie.
Yeah.
I assumed she was like on her way back from judo practice.
Yeah, I think she was.
Yeah,
She
or
was
like
in
a
the gym.
shower or something.
I think she was working out. But I actually love that scene. The thing I loved about that scene in the turbo lift is McCoy getting in and saying, "Did she change her hair?" And Kirk going, "I noticed."
Yeah, like, Kirk, don't get me wrong, Kirk maybe does look at her and go, like, okay. But I don't think she wants to fuck him. I think he's an object of fascination because he beat the Kobayashi Maru, because he's Admiral Kirk and all
and
this.
she's someone with a vagina.
Well, it's also...
Well, in Red Dragon...
Full circle.
It's also
Jerk.
an interesting... It's also... It serves, again, what I think is one of the main themes of the movie, which is Kirk's midlife crisis, because he's looking at this young, attractive woman.
This is why the McCoy having a young hot thing would have been interesting.
And then it's...
Suck
At
on
all
that,
times.
Kirk.
And then it sort of pitted that whole story, that whole sense of, I don't know, feeling old and, not quite having his mojo anymore with the ladies, is pitted with Carol Marcus and the fact that he's revealed that he has an adult son.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I like your idea. I would have liked to have seen that Star Trek 3.
And I think that would have made an interesting thing for the Vulcans, because then, obviously you have sort of like a butterfly effect thing where, like, where is Spock's consciousness by the time we reach Voyager? Is it Tuvok? Is Tuvok a descendant of Spock's consciousness? That would be really cheesy if they had done that, but they would have.
Oh, yeah.
And we would find out that at the end of, like, Enterprise that T'Pol gets her consciousness downloaded into a young Vulcan boy who just lost his pet bear.
Yeah. So maybe in that way, maybe it's good that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because, God, they love stuff like
continuity of characters.
that.
Everybody knows each other.
Well, but no more than, like, Star Wars, right? I feel like Star Wars has a lot of that shit, too.
Well,
to a level that I
because
can't deal with.
Yeah, Star Wars is corny in the sense that everyone who has ever done anything important in the galaxy is a Skywalker.
Or, at the very least, has met one.
Yeah.
Well, there's a good argument for that, too, though, right? That the Force brings it together and yada yada.
Yeah,
but still.
fuck that noise.
Fuck it.
Jerk
Anyway,
it
this is
off.
not a... Sorry, this
So-
is a circle jerk off.
So, last movie was sort of like, we said, it's just the Changeling with some tweaks. This one's not as direct, but this is one where they were like, can we do a submarine movie again?
Yeah, it's got a little
And Obsession.
balance of terror in there.
It's got the obsession element, too, at
Yeah.
least on.
Yeah, true.
Where
But,
he's, like, literally endangering his crew and himself to
Yeah.
get that white whale.
Yeah, but I just mean that, the battle at the end, especially, where they find a techno-babble excuse to fuck up their instruments so that, again, in Balance of Terror mode style, it's a submarine movie again, not just a space battle movie.
Yeah, it kind of made me want to watch Hunt for Red October. You ever see that?
Oh, I love that
Is it a
movie.
good movie?
God.
Sean
I gotta
Connery,
go.
Alec
If you
Baldwin.
guys are gonna watch Hunt for Red October,
You don't like Hunt for Red October?
It's so fucking boring.
No.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a good
Great.
one.
I thought it was boring.
The problem is, that was the first Jack Ryan movie I'd ever seen, and I liked it so much, I have refused to see any of the others.
The others aren't. That's the best, I would say.
Yeah,
Because I'm trying to remember.
I don't know, they all had Harrison Ford, and then there was the attempt to reboot with Ben Affleck, and then the attempt to reboot with Chris Pine.
Oh,
Now they're
Pine
gonna
one?
supposedly bring it back as an Amazon original with John Krasinski as Jack Ryan.
That doesn't make
Who's
sense.
John Krasinski again?
The Office?
Jim.
Oh, Jim, yeah.
Well, it kind of does in that Jack Ryan is supposed to just be a big nerd who keeps accidentally getting involved in this stuff. And I mean, yeah, John Krasinski's kind of a big nerd. Look at him.
I don't know. He's too conventionally attractive.
Really? With that?
No, he's not. I don't know. But
They say
I feel like
him
he's...
and the guy from Chuck. Remember that show, Chuck?
Which guy?
Oh, they kind of look alike.
The main guy, the guy that played Chuck. They kind of.
Oh,
they
yeah, I
both
can
have that
see
lanky, goofy look.
I can see that.
Anywho. But yeah, I like, the return to sort of space combat as submarine combat. That was a fun little thing. Apparently, so the way this movie got sort of created, and Ames, you may have, come across this in your researches, but years ago, I watched all the documentaries on the DVD when they first released it. I listened to the damn director's commentary.
Chris loves special features.
Yeah, I have less time now to watch them, but when I was a teenager and had no friends, oh boy, let me tell you.
Oh, you had friends.
Yeah, I know, but still. I had like 2 when they were, not always free. This took a turn. So basically, they got Nicholas Meyer to write and direct this film, and at that point, he didn't have much going on in his career. He had done 7% Solution at this point. I don't think he's done Time After Time yet, or he just did it. But either way, he wasn't doing much, something he'd hoped to get off the ground didn't happen or whatever. And they were like, you want to do Star Trek? He's like, I don't really know Star Trek that. I mean, I've heard of it, I've seen it a little bit. And they're like, yeah, give me that. So somehow they convince him. So he sits down and basically just watches the whole of TOS to try to come up with ideas and goes...
That was Harv Bennett. Harv Bennett picked the idea.
Oh, did he? Okay. But,
The producer.
okay.
Well, they hang a lampshade on the fact, right, at the end, where they're like, wouldn't it be something to go back and see what happened there?
Yeah, they want to go back 100 years later when they were full of hope, and it turns out, no, hope doesn't work because planets explode.
How do planets explode?
Yeah, I don't know, ask Krypton.
Yeah. Speaking of the submarine scene and the fact that they can't see the other ship, right? Like that's the whole crux of the issue.
Yeah.
Are there no windows on the Enterprise? Like, no one could have walked up to a window and been like, he's over there! He's over there! Turn to the right.
2 o'clock.
Warmer. Okay, you got him. Fire, straight ahead.
Yeah.
Like, I know that they said that the visual wasn't working.
They could just send somebody out in a spacesuit.
The waving guy.
The waving guy, that's why he's so useful.
So my in-universe explanation for that plot hole is that the nebula is actually, in reality, like what we see on screen is not actually how it is, that it's actually completely opaque inside the nebula.
That would make some sense.
Yeah,
you can't actually see out of the ship.
It makes for better movie if you don't just have a wall of opaque blue or whatever it's supposed to be.
It could still also just, even if it is what we see, it could still be really hard to see through the gases through a window.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
also,
can you see a plane through a cloud?
How far away? But how far away is the ship? Also,
Yeah.
like
They were pretty close at some points, right? They almost crash into each other.
I guess.
I mean, also, of course, part of the problem is if your targeting stuff isn't working, then a photon shot has to be... You have to be actually turning the ship in the direction you need to fire instead of letting it just kind of arc. So that's a problem. Of course, the infamous exhibits two-dimensional thinking thing, and it's like, yeah, this is the first time anyone has used three-dimensional thinking in space battles here, but all right.
And yet, they even though they cite that, they still do it in a very two-dimensional way by having the ships be on the same plane. It's not like it would be cool if the Enterprise came at them from the bottom, like Reliance here. Enterprise is like whoa!
like a perpendicular,
T-boned them.
Yeah, they are
bottom.
very afraid in Star Trek in general, just having faith in the audience to understand
audience members are dumb.
each ship has its own, because of artificial gravity, they have their own plane.
Yeah.
And you could have this thing, you could have had them coming up from below the Reliant and torpedoing them. But they insist, like you said, I mean, admittedly, it's a great shot with the Enterprise just hoving up behind it. It looks great.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
It looks like fucking Jaws.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's sort of, it's like when for all little sense the scene makes and for how bad the movie is, I love the sequence of the Enterprise coming out of the ocean into darkness. It just looks great. It's dumb, but it looks great. And it's like that here, it's the visual overtaking the sense. Yeah, is there anything I feel like we've touched on a bunch of things, but Have we left anything out? Anything major we want to...
Nothing major I wanted to bring up. Oh, the one minor thing I wanted to say. Scotty playing Amazing Grace on the bagpipes at the funeral shoot off the torpedo scene.
Mm-hmm.
His idea.
Oh.
No shit.
You get him doing.
That's nice.
He knows what he's doing.
Hey.
I thought it was not odd, but Majel Barrett was conspicuously absent in this.
Yeah, she wasn't the computer voice.
Yeah.
They didn't have Rand back like they did on motion pictures.
Yeah,
We did have Kyle, though.
Did we?
Commander Kyle. He was the communications officer on the Reliant.
Snap.
Was it the same actor?
I assume it was supposed to be the same character anyways.
Yeah, but
I meant to look him up, but he's still British, so...
Yeah.
It's probably supposed to be that Kyle. Certainly looked enough like him at profile that I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, I forgot to look it up.
Yeah, the acting, though, was definitely better in this one. All around.
Everything was better in this
Yeah,
one.
they give him stuff to do. I mean, really, I do wish that they had given Sulu and Uhura
Yeah, that
stuff
would be
Anything to do.
But I feel like that's something that both of them fight for and lose all the time.
That's true.
Oh! I remember one of the stupid things about this movie I needed to bring up.
Oh.
The fucking coded communication.
Oh.
What hours would seem like days?
Yeah. You're telling me
Khan couldn't
fucking
figure that
Khan
out?
couldn't pick up on that?
Mm.
And Savick couldn't pick up on that?
Yeah, it's true.
If we do things, wink, wink, by the book, hint, hint, in hours will seem like days, it's going to take 6 days
You know what it is?
to fix the ship.
There's a cutscene somewhere where Khan's sitting around with his people, and they're like, this has to be bullshit, right? Like, that is so obviously fake. And Khan is like, no. In our 15 years on SETI Alpha 5, I read a lot of books. Vulcans can't lie. And even fucking Savick keeping the fucking myth going. You lied. No, Vulcans lie all the time. I've gone on this rant before. I'm not going to do it again. But fuck you, Vulcans. We're on to you.
Wow.
Yes.
Maybe Khan just wasn't listening.
Maybe.
And they just
No, he
assumed-
wasn't. It showed him making, like, an O face. Because he knew, like, yes!
He was doing arts and crafts.
There you go.
Making a different glove with different sparklies. I actually...
Their veils had sparklies too.
True.
Yeah.
So,
Their sparklies.
2 things from
Things.
my...
We're so hungry, Chris.
From my youth and no friends. On the audio commentary for the movie, Nicholas Meyer did mention that apparently him and... I don't know if it was him and Ricardo Montalban, or Ricardo Montalban came up with it and told him, but there is a reason Khan leaves the one glove on, but he refuses to say what it is.
Nice.
Other thing...
Masturbation, obviously. Next.
Nicholas Meyer figured out the trick to getting Shatner to act well. Do a shitload of takes. Because he gets bored and stops trying to act.
Oh.
He can actually act
The
well.
Here It Comes took a shitload of
Here
takes.
it comes.
When they're transmitting the Reliance prefix code to them. Because every time they did it, no matter what Meyer said, there would always be this kind of lilt in Shatner's voice, like a little, here it comes. Like, ah ha ha.
Okay, Willy Wonka, calm the fuck down.
Exactly. So the fact that we finally get this flat, just natural, here it comes, without any kind of like hint in his voice was because...
How many times did the eulogy take? Because the eulogy was really good.
635.
So that was
I
probably
always like the way he
okay
said
because
human.
they needed him
His
to...
voice cracks. It's great.
They needed him to ham it up a little, so that was fine. But so what I should have specified is to get rid of his hamminess.
Okay.
You have to do a shitload of takes,
Well-
so he gets bored.
I think he did. I think Shatner was good in this movie.
He was, because he had a director who figured out how to
the
rein
trick.
him in.
I thought the best way to get a good result from Shatner was to give him a line reading.
But yes, no, he does. The eulogy's really good. He does it really well.
I mean, even the Spock's death scene, he does a really good job.
Yeah, that whole scene's really good.
Well, and the look on his face when he's like trying to tear through bones to like get in there, and he's like, "Bro, Jim, you can't do it. It's gonna kill you.
You know what, Bob?
Radiation."
When he gets held back by Scotty and Bones, there's a
A
third
third guy down by his crotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving him the captain's fellatio.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the two
This
of
is
them...
the only way we can stop him from
Yeah, I was
going
gonna
in
say,
there. Suck him off.
In case cooler heads don't prevail, cooler head will.
On that
Also,
note.
according to the stickers in that little death room, the Enterprise, at least this iteration, isn't powered by dilithium, but the Triforce.
Yeah, I saw that, the little Triforce sticker.
Always distracts me.
The Triforce of Power, I assume.
They had the whole
all three.
thing there,
Yeah,
so I
three
mean,
of them.
power, wisdom, and courage. Right?
Fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Take us out, Chris. Let's go eat dinner.
So we're good here.
Yep, I'm
We're
done.
all set with TWOC, as it is often abbreviated.
That's fucking awful.
Yeah. With that, this has been episode 51 of A Star to Steer Her By. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, do please find and like our Facebook page, subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting application, and if you use or at least even have iTunes, please give us a rating and review. We are on Twitter and Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. And next week, we will be looking at Star Trek III, The Search for Spock.
The search for more money.
For A Star to Steer Her By, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
This is always Jake.
Thank you very much for listening.
Be sure to tip your yeoman.
Con!
I like that you
That's
looked,
not how it goes.
I like that you looked at me, and
I
I was
always
like, I'm like, bitch,
forget-
it's you.
I always forget that I have to say thank you for listening first. I know.
But yeah, you're right though. It is con. People always stretch it out, but it's really just con, and then they repeat it a couple times.
Con.
It's not a Vader. No!